to the podcast, the Post Boys Podcast. Join Gary and Ian talking movies.
Hello and welcome to another podcast of the Post Boys. Once again, I'm accompanied by Ian.
Hello.
Hi. And it's been a while, I say, since the last podcast. And have you seen anything in the last month or so, Ian, worth mentioning or not?
I can't think off the top of my head, Gary, because it's all kind of merges into one. How about yourself?
Well, funny you should mention that, because I have seen something. I watched this little British movie. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's called The Ghost Camera.
No.
Okay, well, you're going to be intrigued. This is a movie that came out in 1933, and it's what they would call a quota quickie.
Oh, yes, yes.
Where they had a long-term contract with a movie studio. In this case, it was RKO Pictures, and to kind of fulfill the contract, they were obligated to make a certain amount of movies in a certain time frame. So they had to make these movies pretty quickly and cheaply. You're talking about probably less than 10 grand. Now, when you consider at the time in the 1930s, Cary Grant was on $100,000 for a 3-picture deal. 10 grand for a movie was very cheap. But this particular movie is called The Ghost Camera, and there's no ghost in it, so you're going to be disappointed. But it does have a camera. Okay, so I think that's the MacGuffin. Is it the MacGuffin?
Yes, yeah.
That's what the
MacGuffin,
Hitchcock thing. Okay, so this movie was starring this guy called Henry Kendall. Now, I had no idea who the fuck this guy is. And basically, he was like a big stage actor, kind of, well, stage, and he was a stage director as well. It seemed he was quite famous in his field at the time, but he did come off the stage now and again and did the odd movie. He didn't really take much notice of it. It wasn't really kind of something he was very proud of, but I thought he played a pretty good part. He kind of looks a bit like Harold Lloyd, and he does a quite good comic role. He plays the part quite well. Another notable character in this movie was a very young Ida Lupino.
All right.
And there's also John Mills. I think this was his first movie. Sir John Mills, actor.
Yeah.
And Felix Aylmer as well. There's another famous face you might have noticed if you don't notice the name. Now, like I said, there's no ghosts in the movie. It's just about a camera that falls in the wrong hands. He exposes the negatives, and then he sees a murder on one of the pictures. I won't go into too much detail. It kind of just goes on from there. But the film was also notable because it was the first film that had a prologue before the beginning credits as well. And David Lean, the David Lean for Lawrence of Arabia and Bridge over River Kwai, to name but two, Dr. Zhivago. He was a film editor on this movie as well, so he kind of cut his teeth on these quota quickies at the time. Now, Ida Lupino was an actress who was very famous in the 30s and the 40s doing these noir movies, but most people think she was American. She was actually born in Herne Hill in Surrey. She was English. And when she was born in 1918, and this is a movie that came out in 1933. Now, do the math, okay? She was only just turned 15 at the time when she did this. She was playing a romantic lead role in a movie, and she was only 15. And this was a 6th movie at the time. So she was doing movies by the age of 13. She wasn't playing children, Ian. She was
Oh.
playing female love interest leads and stuff.
All right.
I mean, that's a lot of people are just like, well, they'd obviously turn their nose up with that. So I know, but a quote from Ida Lupino was, I was never young. I was always old. That's what she said. Maybe she kind of came out the womb like Wilford Brimley or something. She was always that old. But basically, like her first movie was The Love Race in 1931, and she did 6 features in Britain before she moved over to Hollywood. Obviously, with these long-term contracts with the RKO Pictures, they obviously had an eye on her to bring her over. But I think she was pinched by either Universal or Paramount. I can't get them mixed up. So it's one of these companies. Yeah, she was dubbed the English Jean Harlow, but she was groundbreaker. Not just because she was a very young actress at the time, but she was also one of the notable first female directors. She got her first director gig in 1949 when director Elmer Clifton, no idea who the fuck that guy is, but he had a heart attack and was unable to finish the movie that Ida Lupino was on. And I think the movie was called Not Wanted. So basically, Ida kind of took over, basically. She was kind of bored anyway. She says just waiting around doing her parts and stuff, she got really bored, so she wanted to take over the acting duties and stuff. They had a kind of bit of a production company with her then husband at the time, so she took over the director's duty and filled in for Elmer while he was recovering from a heart attack. And fair dues to her, she didn't take any credit for the direction on the movie. She gave all back to Elmer when he recovered, which was really great. So I know her most famous work, Ida Lupino, was a movie from 1953 called The Hitchhiker, which was a classic film noir. Now I've never seen this. I've seen movies kind of like it. I don't know if I've seen this one. I don't know if it's the one I've seen, but I'll need to check this out. But she did a lot of TV work later in the 60s. 50s and 60s, doing loads of TV and stuff. I mean, you might see a name on like an episode of Columbo and stuff. So I know.
Yeah, you know what? I recognise the name more than the face.
No,
you know?
yeah. Well, I didn't know she was. I didn't know she was a she. I thought Ida Lupino because I noticed the name as a film director, and I thought a name like Ida, it could be a male name, could it? Because males are, there's a lot of male people called Ida as well. So,
well, was it? Oh no, that's Ira Levine.
Oh, maybe maybe get my Ira Levine. Yeah. So she was a trailblazer. She obviously very young. Did a lot of movie noirs, and then she was like one of the main first female directors to carve out that niche. And basically, the last thing in the 70s I got on her was, she did a couple of movies in the 70s. You probably know them. 1975, The Devil's Reign.
Yes, I've been trying to track that down, which I think they've re-released it with William Shatner. And it's one of those ones when you see stills from it and you don't know if it's a TV movie or if it's a feature, you know, a bit like a Race with the Devil. And there was it Karen Black made those? Was it a TV movie that had 4 separate horror stories? And of course, Karen Black was in that Burnt Offerings, and all kind of get mixed together. And that obviously Ernst Borgnine is in the Devil's Reign, which is, I think it's got another name as well, hasn't it?
Now, William Shatner's in The Devil's Reign. Do you know the connection with The Devil's Reign and Halloween?
No.
The William Shatner mask came from The Devil's Reign.
Did it? Oh, right, because they're starting to melt, and yes. Wow.
Yeah, there you go.
So the Michael Myers mask, which is a William Shatner mask, that Michael Myers wears. So that came from the Devil's Reign.
Yeah, that was a face mold taken off Shatner when they did The Devil's Rain in 1975. Yeah.
So obviously, people assume that it was a shot bought kind of William Shatner mask, but yeah, until you do a deep dive to say no, the shops didn't have Captain Kirk masks until wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, that's where you get these amazing pieces of trivia on this podcast. Devil's Rain, 1975. William Shatner, Ernest Borgnine, and also Tom Skerritt was in that movie as well. Now, this is a movie I just watched just a couple months ago. I've seen it before, but I just wanted something trashy and crap to watch. You know, when you get older, you don't want to invest too much brain power into watching like a movie. You know, you got to be in the right mind to watch a Christopher Nolan movie, and then sometimes you just want to nod off and watch something crap, basically. But no, entertaining crap. So I know there's a lot of crap movies that are quite entertaining and good in their own rights. But The Food of the Gods, 1976.
Food of the Gods, yes, and and that is about, is it the creatures have become is genetic and they end up growing, or
I think these are there's like some pool of goo or something that on this land that they all start licking or eating, and then they grow big. So I know, kind of like the stuff, basically, kind of thing. Yeah. So basically, there's this like stuff that comes out of the ground, and they all start eating it, or has some sort of kind of medicinal effect, but it makes you massive, basically.
Yeah, because I remember the post. It was a big chicken, or was it chicken, cockerel, and then I don't know, it's rats.
Yeah, the rats are the thing. So I know.
And I'm sure, if memory serves me well, is there not a Food of the Gods 2? Which I don't know what that film entailed, but yeah.
Yeah, I think it'll probably be the lesser of the two. Not that the original Food of the Gods was like a quality production.
Well, there was films that came out in the kind of late kind of 70s or mid 70s, all with giant creatures, all merged into one. There's the one with was it Joan Collins about was it? No, it's not Land of the Ants or something.
Yeah, I'm just going to check because I think that the director is Burt E. Gordon, I believe, or Burt I. Gordon. Okay, sorry. It's not an E, it's an I. Let's have a look. I think he did most of these movies where Village of the Idiots, The Cyclops, Food of the Gods, The Amazing Colossus Man. He does all these big movies and stuff.
I don't know whether...
Empire of the Ants, there you go. 1977.
Empire of the Ants, but I don't know whether or not, as I say, people were jumping in the Jaws bandwagon. So you've got those films like, is it The Night of the Frogs, or no Frogs, and then you've got is it Squirm with the worms, and then obviously Jaws, and there's ones called Grizzly, and obviously Orca with Richard Harris, which is a weird film. It was a good score, but
what year was Ennio Morricone?
Yes,
brilliant. Yeah. What year was Orca?
77, I think.
77. So this was before Dudley Moore in 10.
Yes, yeah.
Because Bo Derek was in Orca.
Yes, yeah. So I think,
but she had a big jumper on. So
she had a big jumper on, and then she was in that film. I don't know if it was like, it was almost like kind of soft kind of core. Was it the Adventures of Tarzan or whatever it was?
Oh man, Miles O'Keefe as Tarzan.
Yeah, which obviously he was more eye candy than actor, you know.
Yeah, directed by Derek. Was it Derek? Bo Derek's husband, John Derek. John Derek. Yeah. Was he like a bit of a cuck or something? Basically, because he, I don't know, he just seemed to exploit his. I'm pretty sure Bo Derek was too young for him when they first met.
But then, you look at is it Jane Fonda and is it Roger Vadim? He was a bit of exploiting. But your wife or your partner to in films particularly.
Yeah, but I remembered was she like captured and she was all covered in this white kind of stuff when she was getting like going to get killed by a lot of natives in the jungle or something.
I think it's once again those films that came out in the cusp, which was like 79, 80, 81, and they're weird because it's like it's the 80s, but there's a bit of a 70s aesthetic, and it's just trying to still find its way till the 80s. Well, what we know as 80s films are, as I say, Stallone and thing, and there's that. I suppose it's like the late 60s into the early 70s and late 70s into the early 80s. You'll find a lot of weird films, leftovers or hangovers from, another time, which if they'd come out a few years earlier, great. But they've come out at this time, it's like, I don't know if there's an audience for that or,
Yeah. Maybe if they brought it out 10 years later when they were going through that Basic Instinct, that erotic drama kind of phase.
Yes.
Well, it was The Colour of the Night, remember? Bruce Willis and
Yes.
Jane March. Sliver. Was it Sliver?
Yes, Sliver. Which is based on a Ira Levine novel.
There was loads of them, was there? These erotic dramas and stuff.
Yeah, there was. Did you mention the one with Madonna? Was that Thingy Evidence?
Body of Evidence.
Body of Evidence, yeah.
Oh my God. I watched that about probably like 7 or 8 months ago. That movie has to be seen to believed. It's shockingly bad, but it's brilliant. It's brilliant. You got like a Oscar winner. Like, was he an Oscar winner or was he Oscar nominated? William Dafoe?
No, yeah, he's only been nominated.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, this is it's the most, and you also have Anne Archer in it, and even Frank Langella. There's a stacked cast in that.
Well, obviously, on the back of say Basic Instinct, people thought, a kind of high end erotic thriller was the place. Yeah, we're going to green light that, and then it's only looking back to think this is a weird film,
Yeah, and this is probably like 93, was it?
Yes, something like that.
Madonna by that time, I mean, this was like during her erotica kind of phase and stuff. And she was working out, she was quite buff, and she had like a 6-pack and she had muscles, and she looked like she could handle herself, so I know. So she was getting her body out there, so I know. So anyway, there's one bit where she's like kind of writhing about on the pavement of a underground car park, like masturbating stuff. I know. So she was putting herself into that kind of I mean, what fair dues to her. I mean, if you want to do that, then
well, that's the thing. It's only down to the director and editor. Sometimes less is more, and sometimes a brief glimpse of something's rather than the whole shebang. But yeah.
There's also that scene where she breaks a glass over this car, and then she has William Dafoe over the car getting cut to pieces on the glass while he's fucking himself. I know, it's just it's the most craziest. Oh man, it's the craziest movie. I mean, if you're into bad movies just purely for entertainment value, you have to watch Body of Evidence. It's pure. It's just pure entertainment at the lowest level. Brilliant. Yeah, so that we're getting way off track already. So Fear of the Gods, Marjo Gottner was in that from was it Star Crash or was it?
Yeah.
Pamela Franklin, there was a name from the past. She was
Pamela
in that.
Franklin.
Yeah. Okay. But so that's what I had. So I've kind of curtailed the podcast already, talking about the ghost camera.
No, having said that, I think I saw maybe 10 minutes of that, and I think sometimes people think when you think of films from the 30s, or you think people speak in a mannered way, and it's actually when you see a film that is closer to real life, you think, the people in the 30s and the 20s weren't that different from now. They behave in the same way, or just maybe in better clothes or stuff like that. It's like what was I going to say? It's like you look at the early Hitchcock stuff. Early Hitchcock seemed to capture actually what real people were like, rather than it being almost like a kind of Noel Coward. Everything's clipped and stuff like that. And it's like when you watch, say, like 39 Steps and stuff like this, and you think, oh yeah, I can relate to that. That's the kind of humour you'd have now. and it stands the test of time. And it's the very mannered stuff that people lose interest to think, oh no, that's like, yeah, that's like, well, that's 100, almost 100 years ago,
Yeah, well, again, yeah. Oh, pretty sad when you think about it. Christ. So that's so basically, if you listen to this and even by stumbling on the podcast by accident, check out the Ghost camera. There's plenty of streaming options on YouTube, and it's also on Amazon Prime at the moment, but they're all pretty crappy versions because it's from 1931. Basically, it's almost a film that was pretty much lost for a lot of years. So
yeah, I think I saw it. I think I originally saw it, and was it Talking Pictures TV? I think that's when the first time I saw it.
Yeah. Okay, so the podcast today is actually we've been yapping for 20 minutes. We haven't talking about the podcast, but it's Rasputin the Mad Monk, or was he Russia's greatest love machine, Ian?
Well, if you've ever watched the trailer for Rasputin the Mad Monk, the trailer says he's history's man of mystery.
Well, yeah, because basically he had quite a eventful life. He had probably at least 3 wives.
Yes, he's got I think he had a daughter anyway. I don't know how many other children he had.
Pretty sure he had more than one daughter, but he probably didn't know about.
Well, I think officially, I think he had when he was in the court of his art, I think he had his wife and he had his daughter, which I think was publicly known. So whether he had stuff before, but this the film is I think the director is Don Sharp and the writer. I think they made it quite clear this was a fictitious account of the life. Well, a small window in the life of Rasputin. I remember first time I came across Rasputin was 1987.
In history.
No
class.
No, history class. No, it was it must be the 30 years of. There was a documentary on BBC Two called the Studio That Dripped Blood, and it was late spring, early summer 1987, and I think it was because it was 30 years since was it The Curse of Frankenstein came out. Yeah. So this documentary, and the documentary showed loads of clips of the film, and it showed you how they would reuse sets, and they would say, "Oh, that's the same staircase in this film, and then that film, and that film." And there's the same sets they used in Dracula, Prince of Darkness, used the same in Rasputin. And then at the end of the documentary, BBC Two on a Saturday night started a season of Hammer films. Some were a single feature, other times there would be a double feature. And you had to watch to the end of the film because what the BBC used to do, that's the end of Dracula, Prince of Darkness. Next week's film will be Quatermass in the Pit or Dracula's Risen from the Dead. And that kind of lit a kind of spark in me to watch these Hammer horror films. And I only had a black and white TV, but my brother had a colour portable. So on a Saturday, I would try to get his television and bring it into my room, and just for the Hammer, if it was in a colour one, just to watch the film. And I think my favourite Hammers are that kind of 60 to maybe 68, that kind of those films. It's simply just because the story, usually they're gothic, they're historical, they're technicolor, because Rasputin Mad Monk was made back to back with Dracula Prince of Darkness. They used a lot of they redressed a lot of the same sets. They used some of the same cast, although I think in the cast, I think it's only Francis Matthews, obviously Christopher Lee, Barbara Shelley, and what's the other actress's name? Susan Farmer. So those are the only 4 actors who came from Dracula Prince of Darkness into Rasputin. And they filmed Dracula, the Prince of Darkness, from May to June 65, and then they filmed Rasputin June to July 65. And then obviously they filmed the other double bill, which was The Reptile and The Plague of the Zombies. And they put Rasputin with a reptile, and they put Dracula Prince of Darkness with Plague of the Zombies as a double feature. And on the poster for Rasputin and the reptile, that's the first time that they use From Hammer, the House of Horror, ever on a poster, or actually mention that ever, you know. And yeah, that's...
I probably would... I would Plague of Zombies. Sorry, was probably the better of the two between them and Reptile. Would it? So I don't know.
I would have thought that. I would say that almost the Reptile's almost like a fairy tale. I don't know whether or not if they put Dracula with a reptile and Rasputin with Plague of Zombies, that would have been a bit better.
The Reptile's the one where the reptile's upstairs in the bedroom or something.
Yes, yeah,
comes
it's
down the steps.
Jacqueline. Is it Jacqueline? Oh, she was in Blake 7. Is it Jacqueline Pierce?
I have no idea.
Because both the Reptile and Plague of the Zombies were set in Cornwall, so that's why they split those two up, and then obviously, well, I mean. Yes, and the problem with the film, well, one of the small problems with Rasputin is that they ran over, or there was an overspend with Dracula Prince of Darkness, so Don Sharp had to then shorten the script for Rasputin, so they had to take scenes out, a lot of dialogue in the monastery and all this sort of stuff, which has an effect. Fight scenes were shortened and all that sort of stuff that has an effect on the film.
Oh, that's pretty crap.
Yeah, I mean that's yeah, you know, and of course even before the film was made, there was almost like what do you call it? There was legal action because one of the princes, Prince Felix Yusupov, who was still alive, and his wife, Irina Yusupov, he was one of the people who assassinated Rasputin, was still alive. And I think, as Christopher Lee said, as a young man, he was actually introduced to both the Grand Duke Dmitry Pavlovich and Yusupov as a kid. But because Yusupov was still alive, he tried to sue CBS. There was like a couple of film versions. So he had to sign off on the script for Rasputin. He had to sign each page to say, yes, yeah, that's agreeable. And that's why in the film, it's two brothers and two sisters. It's not wives of anything. And the Felix Yusupov is Ivan, and the Grand Duke Dmitry is Peter. So Ivan is the Francis Matthews character, I think, yes. And the Dmitry Pavlovich is the Rhys Dinsdale character, because obviously they didn't want to be sued by the prince, you know, because as I say, I think people said it was legal considerations overriding factual accuracy when it came to the script. Yeah,
there's a character in Rasputin the Mad Monk. Let me just
because there's a few famous before we get to the main actors in it. There's a few famous. There's Derek Francis, who's the innkeeper, and you would know him from
Francis Matthews.
Francis.
This is a guy I was watching. I said, I've seen this face loads of times, but who is he? So, but he was in it. He was also in a couple episodes of the Avengers and stuff.
Yes,
over the years.
Well, the thing about Francis Matthews is he was the voice of Captain Scarlet, and he almost sounds like. I don't think it's affected in any way. He sounds like Cary Grant. But I always used to get Francis Matthews, Jeremy Brett, and Gerald Harper all mixed together because they all seem, but particularly Gerald Harper and Francis Matthews, they have a similar look. Obviously, Gerald Harper was Adamant and and he was in the last Gerald Harper. He was in the last Hammer film, official Hammer film, and that was The Lady Vanishes from. That's the one with Elliot Gould and Sybil Shepherd.
There you go. He's in 2 episodes of The Avengers.
Yeah. And you've got a couple of uncredited. You've got Brian Marshall, who's uncredited. Brian Marshall, who was in the Commander of the Submarine in Spy Love Me. He was in the BMX Bandits. He was the British TV actor who then went off over to Australia. He did like Australia's Most Wanted.
BMX Bandits with Nicole Kidman.
Yeah. And also he was the Punisher, the Dolph Lundgren. He was the Dolph Lundgren Punisher. And then who plays his dad? Well, Brian Marshall and Brian Wilde.
Mm-hmm. Oh, from
friend of the podcast with Night of the Demon. He was played his father.
And that sitcom. It was big in Britain.
Last of the Summer Wine.
Last of Summer Wine. Yeah.
So he plays his father, and of course it's Brian Marshall, who it's his girlfriend who canoodles with Rasputin, because obviously the film starts. He comes in. Rasputin comes in and says,
"I want wine. Landlord, give me wine now."
he wants his wine, but the landlord's the innkeeper's wife is sick, so he goes up there and cures him, and then he thinks, there's the innkeeper's daughter. Goes into the cow shed at the barn, has a wee kiss and a curl, and then kind of locals come in, and there's a scene which it's a continuity thing. So Brian Marshall, he struggles with Rasputin, and he tries to kill him with like a scythe, and then Rasputin gets the scythe off him.
Yeah, and unfortunately for him.
But there's a slight continuity because Rasputin, Christopher Lee brings the scythe about elbow height, but it's only wrist that the hand comes off, and it's those little things, I think the film itself, I think it's a historical drama that then remembers, we've got to be a horror film, because it's almost as if that scene with the scythe didn't need to be there, and there's the scene with the acid, thrown in the acid later on, and it's almost like an afterthought to say, wait a minute, this is a horror film we've got to make, because it's almost an hour before anything after that initial, in the first kind of 10 minutes before anything horrific, and it's like it's almost like looking for excuses to put horror in, and then once the horror starts, it's quite disturbing. It's there's a scene where Rhys, it's not Rhys Dinsdale, it's Dinsdale Landon. Yeah, Dinsdale Landon. Sorry, I'm saying Rhys Dinsdale. Sorry, Rhys Dinsdale was from Home to Roost.
Oh yeah.
With John Shaw.
Dinsdale Landon. Yeah, he's like a.
Yeah.
Where is it?
Yeah. So there's that scene where the Barbara Shelley character has ended her life, and she's and he's looking for revenge, and he goes to the villa that Rasputin's been given by the Tsarina, and it's all in shadow, and his eyes are almost glowing, and he says, it's that horrible scene, he says, "Be careful, there's acids in here," and then he throws acid in the in his face, and it's that's quite that's definitely quite horrific anyway,
Yeah, there's also a little appearance by Josh Ackland I never picked up on it at the time when I first watched it, but I seen his name when the second time I watched it. I went, where was Josh Ackland in the movie?
He's the bishop. He's the one that goes to the young Tsar's bedroom, and he's the one who's got like these crazy kind of eyebrows that kind of flick up the way, and then he was a young man back then, but somehow he looks older than he did when he was older.
Yeah.
I think he's got a certain face, and if you just change the eyebrow or something, he just totally. You think that doesn't even look like Joe Ackland,
Yeah, for some of our younger listeners, if you're wondering who Josh Ackland is, diplomatic immunity and Lethal Weapon 2. There, you got it. Okay. I think
That's it.
That's it.
Diplomatic immunity. Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Has been revoked. Okay. Just so I was watching, I was thinking like Barbara Shelley was like quite tall, but I checked the height, it's only 5'7", but still that's kind of above average for a woman, but she kind of looked kind of quite tall. I don't know if she's got like high heels on when she's standing next to Christopher Lee, because everybody knows Christopher Lee's kind of really tall.
Well, I mean, she plays Sonia, a lady in waiting, and Susan Farmer, she plays Vanessa, who's a lady in waiting. But Barbara Shelley only made, you could say 8 Hammer films, although she's classed as almost like the first lady of
like
Hammer.
A scream queen of Hammer. So.
Yeah, but she only made... Now, there's not so much debate. I think she appeared in Man Trap was a film, but I don't know if it was under her own name. But certainly she appeared in 7 films. Camp on Blood Island, The Shadow of the Cat, The Gorgon, The Secret of Blood Island, Dracula, Prince of Darkness, Rasputin the Mad Monk, and Quatermass in the Pit. So from like 1978, for instance, till about 1967. And after 1967, that was it. She didn't appear in another Hammer. Now, she said it was because she felt trapped in the kind of, as she called it, the misconceptions of the horror genre. Whether people thought, well, we're not going to employ you because you're a horror. But it's amazing that, there's only maybe 1, 2, 3, maybe 3 out of those kind of 7, 8 films that are actually what you class as horror films, and the rest. And she had such an impact.
Yeah, it's kind of like we've talked about this before, but that Australian actor Frank Thring, we always associate him with these playing these kings or these sort of kind of high pompous characters in these sword and sandal movies and stuff. But he was only in like about 5 of them, so and that's basically it. But we kind of get that impression he was in a lot more.
Yeah, and then Susan Farmer, she only appeared in 4 Hammer films. She was in The Scarlet Blade, The Devil Ship Pirates, Dracula, Prince of Darkness, and Rasputin the Mad Monk. And a lot of these actresses, that they coined that term Hammer glamour. And you look, there's a book that I've got, and you look at all the actresses who are in it, and the 2 things that come across is, one, that absolutely stunning. Second, these were a lot intelligent, talented women, and that unfortunately the parts just weren't there. And when you read about their life stories, either they concentrated on starting a family, or they ended up working in an antique shop. And I don't know whether or not that's maybe code for saying, you know what, there just wasn't the parts there. So I had to, and rather just say, I'm absolutely furious that there aren't good parts for, women of any age, particularly older age. You just have to say, oh yeah, no, I much prefer to set up an antique shop,
Yeah. Of course, there was like kind of sexist attitude, but even like Christopher Lee felt he was getting boxed in. He was getting a bit pissed off with the roles he was getting, to the point where he wouldn't give a fuck. Basically, you played one of the films of Dracula. Where he
Scars of Dracula.
Didn't bother saying anything in it. Basically,
yeah.
He went, fuck this. The script's not worth saying, so I'm not going to say anything.
But he really got his teeth into this. He handed the cast lots of books on about Rasputin.
He did tremendous amount of homework on Rasputin.
Yeah,
did he?
Yeah, and he even spoke to a doctor about what would be effects of cyanide poisoning. But I remember reading an article about cyanide, and that what they did. If you don't know that, Rasputin is then assassinated, murdered. He was like shot, he stabbed, strangled. He was wrapped in chains, although and thrown in a frozen river, and they hoped the river would then carry him out. But the chains broke, and there's some idea that, well, was he still alive, and he managed to break out of the chains. But he was poisoned. He poisoned with chocolates and sweet wine, or I don't know if it was like a Madeira or whatever. But I remember reading an article saying that sugar can actually counteract the effects of cyanide. So in actual fact, by putting putting the cyanide in sweet stuff, you were actually kind of lessening the effect. So that's probably one of the reasons why, oh my goodness, he's still alive and that's cyanide. It's like, well, no, because there's sugar in the,
And there's also this theory that obviously Rasputin was a heavy drinker, and that was true. I mean, he seemed to have like a cast iron stomach. I mean, he would just consume mountains of wine, and obviously that stomach was basically impregnable. So I mean, maybe that had some effect on kind of diluting the poison as well. So.
Well, that's that. I mean, funnily enough, there's as I say, there's a new book by Anthony Beaver that came out.
The historian guy,
The historian is Rasputin and the Fall of the Romanovs, and some people think, and he kind of gets behind the story thinking, it wasn't, well, some people, well, what he kind of thinks as well is, it's not just this idea of he had influence, it's like, well, wait a minute, what's this peasant doing with our royal family? So there's jealousy and all this sort of stuff all thrown in the mix, and then the stories about was he a lover to the Tsar, the Tsarina, or the daughters, and all this sort of stuff gets thrown in the mix, and no wonder it's fertile breeding ground for the movies. I mean, I can only think of the top of my head of the actors who've played Rasputin. You've got obviously Christopher Lee. You've got Tom Baker in Nicholas and Alexandria. You've got, the only other ones I can remember is, it was a TV movie. It was Alan Rickman. Was that a TV movie?
Yeah, I've never heard of that one, but when I was doing a bit of homework, I discovered, I went, Alan Rickman is the Rasputin. That must be worth watching. And it seemed like it was meant to be pretty good.
And also the most recent one was, it was in not The Gentleman, the King's Man. The prequel, and that was another Welshman. That was Rhys Ifans as Rasputin.
Yeah. So, like what you were saying about Christopher Lee, obviously doing his homework, reading up on him, he brought this little kind of nugget to the first time when he's healing the innkeeper's wife. I was going to say the landlord's daughter, but that's because I was watching Wicker Man not so long ago. The innkeeper's wife, he basically says that when Rasputin healed with his hands, his hands sucked out the fever, and then you could see it on his hands by sweat.
Yeah.
So he always like spray his hands down to make it look like his hands are sweating, and he brought that little nugget to the role as well.
No, if you watch the film, the way he has his hands and what he does with his hands, and he has his crooked his fingers and all this sort of stuff, it's absolutely fantastic, and it all makes sense. I love the idea when he takes the fever out and he puts his hand in the basin of water, and then he says throw that water away, and it all makes almost a bit like, in some way, John Coffey in The Green Mile. He's taken something not as fantastical, but that thing about he's taking it away and throw that, and it totally makes absolute sense. I mean, for a horror film, there's a couple of things that are horrific about it. I think when he uses Barbara Shelley's character to get influence.
He treats Barbara Shelley's character like shit.
Yes, yeah. So he meets her in a tavern, and she's laughing at something else, and she thinks he's laughing at him having done this drinking competition, which I think is one of the best underused memes. If you've ever seen a clip when they're talking about, will anybody challenge my friend to a drinking competition? There's this money, and there's a little clip when Christopher Lee's Rasputin, he looks up, takes the swig, and goes off. And how that's not been used loads of times, because he's quick, he's straight off that chair to then
free booze. I'm up for that. Booze.
But so he uses Barbara Shelley, and he uses some sort of hypnotism to tell her to kind of injure the little Tsar in order for him to come and heal them, so then he could have a villa and all this sort of stuff. But there's a couple of horrific scenes. It's when he tells her, the Barbara Shelley's, the Sonia character, that he doesn't need her anymore. And
she commits suicide, does she?
Well, it's when.
Oops, sorry for spoilers a lot.
No. It's when Barbara Shelley says, "I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill you," and that guttural. That's it's really hard to watch. It's absolutely. It's a fantastic piece of acting from Barbara Shelley, because it's you totally believe this woman is absolutely devastated. You know that's horrific, and I think the other horrific film. It's near the end when the horror starts to pick up. It's when he's been drugged and he's crawling across the floor. He doesn't say a word, and you just see him. He's slowly, almost like there's Ringu. He's slowly crawling across the floor, looking at Richard Pascoe, who's
Dr. Zargo or something.
Yeah, Dr. Boris Zargo has been struck off. You know,
Dr. Boris Zargo. I mean, he was a character. I mean, when they have that drinking contest, when they come into that boozer, he looked like he was completely wasted even before he started drinking.
I think he just has. I think it was the makeup, and also he just has that one of those faces.
You notice that everybody in the movie, especially in that drinking establishment, all look dirty and sweaty, don't they? Everybody's dirty and sweaty in the movie. So.
I think, as you say, and he lives above the horse meat butcher's shop.
Just everybody knows where it is.
Yeah, but I think a couple of things is, one, it's the cinematography. Second, it's been shot in June. It's been shot in the summertime, and that's the only issue I have with Dracula Prince of Darkness, is when Father Shandor he stops this burial, and because obviously it was filmed at the same time, he stops this burial and says, and then he goes into and he says, "Do you think I'd be seen on a night as filthy as this?" And it's like, obviously they shot it in April and June, and he's like supposed to be like the middle of winter, you know. But no, it was Michael Reed. Michael Reed was the cinematographer, and Michael Reed was a cinematographer on Her Majesty's Secret Service.
Oh wow, okay. Because if you bought the Blu-ray for this, it's there's actually two aspect ratios. There's obviously widescreen, and there's even wider screen, basically, which is like even wider. It's unbelievable. So I know.
Yeah,
but,
he was second unit on Goldfinger, Thunderball, and Her Majesty's. You Only Live Twice, and then he started. You know, and also your favourite, he was cinematographer on Wild Geese 2.
Wild Geese 2. Spandau Prison, Wild Geese 2.
Yeah, with he was a fantastic unofficial Bond girl. Barbara.
Oh, God.
She was in Never Say Never Again.
Oh, yeah, I know who you mean. Oh,
no, it's not Barbara Ferreira. No, it's not.
Yeah, I know who you mean. I can't. We'll see if I can find it.
But I think it's down to this. It looks fantastic. It looks warm, and that's the kind of horror films I like. Looking at films that are like, wow, that's cinema. You know, all the the production values up there. Everything's glowing. Everything looks. You know, it's
what? I have to create an account to go into YouTube, my internet movie database now. Sod that.
And obviously, Don Sharp, the director, he directed a few. He directed Kiss of the Vampire, Devil Ship Pirates, which I think Michael Reed did. I think sometimes people forget about a lot of the historical Hammer dramas. The cinematography is absolutely fantastic. You know, so Don Sharp, he must have liked working with Christopher Lee, because he's worked with him a few times. Devil Ship Pirates. He made The Curse of the Fly, Brides of Fu Manchu, Bear Island, 39 Steps, and your favourite, Psychomania. He's directed a few old Hammers. Horror stuff. Barbara Carrera, which I think, if you watch that, that's a performance that you think, oh, never say never again. If you watch it just for Barbara Carrera, and it was her idea to kiss the snake. She throws the snake into the car, and it was her to pick it up and kiss it. And also, it was her idea. Her character is Fatima Blush, and all her jewellery has little weapons. If you look at her hat, her earring, her necklace, it's all tiny little weapons and all that sort of stuff.
How the hell did they get Laurence Olivier to play Rudolph Hess in Wild Geese 2? I mean, that's crazy. And like Edward Fox character in the Ball Guys too, he's just such a pompous prick, isn't he? So I don't know.
What I wasn't able to find out is there's the Palace Ball. That's library footage.
That stuck out like a sore thumb. That definitely looked like it was from a bigger movie.
So I don't know if that is because of the Warner Brother Arts or the 20th Century Fox. I don't know whether or not it was they got
Just,
footage
yeah.
from that, because it certainly looks roughly round about the same. Although it looks more Austrian than it does Russian. You know.
Yeah, I'm just gonna.
But and also we can't forget who played the Tsarina. All right, so you've got Richard Pascoe, Dr. Boris Zargov. He was in Room at the Top. He was mostly a Shakespearean actor, mostly stage. Because if you look at a lot of these actors are familiar faces, and then when you dig into their filmography, you realise they didn't actually make that many films. They were either on TV or the stage. And then you have Renee Ascherson, who played the Tsarina. And I didn't know this till I did my research. She was married to Robert Donat.
Oh, okay.
Obviously, who beat Clark Gable for the best actor for Goodbye, Mr. Chips. And she was once again. She had an uncredited role in The Others. I think that was her last film role with. I think she played the old woman.
So in Rasputin the Mad Monk, the footage of the opulent grand ballroom scene is not original to the movie. To save on production costs, director Don Sharp and Hammer Film Productions crew reused prominent stock footage from the 1956 20th Century Fox movie Anastasia with Ingrid Bergman.
Right.
There you go. That's why it kind of looks so epic compared to the rest of the movie.
Although to be fair, that the scene that then follows that, it doesn't look out of place. That they got enough people to pack out that scene where Barbara Shelley and her brother are, having the champagne and stuff like that. So it does. Although I think when you look at it on the DVD, there is a slight grading of the film because obviously it's not shot on CinemaScope.
It definitely shows up on Blu-ray. So she gets when you first meet the two women, the Barbara Shelley characters, Sonia and
the Susan Farmer Vanessa.
Vanessa. Now, obviously, Rasputin Mad Monk's got his eyes on Vanessa.
Yes,
but I think that's their brothers or something.
Yes, but I think to avoid, as I say, court case from the Russian prince, they made them brothers and sisters. And obviously Vanessa's used as the sexual bait in her brother's plot to ensnare Rasputin. So rather than so that they changed the names, although we know that there was people who plotted and assassinated Rasputin. So even if you change the names, people are going to assume, well, that's the Yusupov and Pavlovich. People are going to. So that's why they changed it to rather it be wives. It was sisters, and trying to separate themselves. That's obviously the when people are still alive, you don't get sued, or you need to put lots and lots of this is a fictitious but then people are going to read into that well, nowadays it's the same stuff, but there's a difference between based on facts and this is a real story. Which I think, as I say, the old baby reindeer stuff, it wasn't, this is based on, this is a real, and that's where the, you get into a bit of hot water when you're doing stories. It's like, well, wait a minute, on one hand, you want to say, oh, this is all real. On the other hand, it's like, well, because nowadays, as soon as a drama or a film comes out, and if you say it's based on, or this is actual events, first thing people do, I'll Google that, on Netflix, or even on documentaries. They'll say the top 10 things that that weren't mentioned in the documentary, and people will start doing their research and all that sort of stuff, Well, yourself over the years watching these kind of made-for-TV real stories, and you think things that I think only in real life could these things happen, because there's no way anybody else would. That can't be true,
I mean, it can't be true, but when in the 80s, when I was younger, I grew up in Arbroath, and I had to go, unfortunately, to Arbroath Academy, which was a shithole. But I did the Russian I did Russian history, Russian Revolution in probably like third, fourth year, and basically we learned about Rasputin and Stolypin's necktie and all the kind of barbarisms going on, stuff and all. So yeah, it was good. It was good stuff. But the real story. Do you think that obviously the film would embellish the life of Rasputin, but this film doesn't, because Rasputin's life was a lot more interesting than the movie. Even the way he died, they missed a couple of steps because he just falls out of a window and kind of lands on the ground and dies. But the true story of Rasputin is like something out of a Halloween movie. I mean, he was like Michael Myers. They couldn't kill the fucker. I mean,
yeah, and there's talk about the one of the plots. The authorities were involved, and then there was one thought that they found blood in one of the apartments, and what one of the princes were going to do was going to shoot a dog and then show the dog to say, oh no, there was a party and a dog was shot, and they were going to shoot a dog to show the carcass and try to clean up on all this sort of. So you can understand why, if you've still got people who are still alive, it's like, yeah, we got to be because some people don't want to be reminded of their actions, and then you want to lessen. Oh no, it wasn't quite like that, and it's like, so that's why either people are suing because you're overemphasizing it, or you're suing because you're kind of emphasizing.
Yeah, I think James Cameron got a bit of that with what was the character he kind of made look like a bit of a bad egg in Titanic.
It was
the family relatives kind of cracked
yes,
up. Yes,
it was Andy Stewart's son played the character.
Murdoch.
Yes, yeah, and he seemed,
Murdoch.
Yeah, I don't know whether or not he uses a revolver. Yeah, it was one of those ones where you've got to be careful, and also if there's a thing where did it happen? Did it not? I always feel like unless you're going to make the film 100%, then don't do it, or don't put that character in. Because if you're going to name the character and then you're going to have that, and it's like, and particularly nowadays,
just change the name or something. Or,
well, that's exactly what, or
because they do like these kind of merge characters. They've got like, maybe they'll have like a book might have so many characters, and you have to like narrow it down, so you'll kind of condense a couple of characters into one kind of thing.
Well, you see that with say like the drama Chernobyl. They say, well, that this person is a mixture of 3 or 4 characters all mixed together, but they represent these 4 or 5, and it's just
So like just remembering from my history lesson from the 80s, I believe, and Rasputin, when obviously he was drowned and he was washed down the river or something.
Yeah, well, it was frozen and they put them under the ice, and I think one of the assassins hoped he would just get taken out into the sea, but that didn't happen.
Similarly, they found his body lying on the coast. And he had written something in the sand before. So I don't know if this is real or not. You don't wrote something like "fuck you" in Russia or something else. You wrote something in the sand or something. So, but I don't know if somebody was like playing a fool, so, oh, Rasputin, and he'd get his finger and go "fuck you" and then Russian and then run away. So I don't know, but there's so much mythology and legends. Regarding Rasputin's death.
Well, as you say, even the trailer, let's say the trailer for the Rasputin reptile, and they've got this American guy, and you have to watch the trailer, and he's saying, he keeps saying, guys and gals, you get your free beard. And they were giving out free beards when you went into the cinema into Rasputin to protect yourself. And you went, guys and gals, free as you enter. Free. And they kept using the term guys and gals, free as you enter the theatre. Now, I don't know if they're red or blue or black, because in the advert they keep saying, have your red beard or the blue beard. Now, I don't know whether or not that's anything to do with, there's a characters from history, a blue beard and red beard, or whether they were just all black beards. But those were a sweet spot where you get free stuff, either free fangs or free beards or stuff like that. And nowadays, we've kind of gone full circle where it seems to be popcorn buckets seem to be the thing.
Different styles of popcorn buckets.
Different popcorn buckets. And you think, my good, yeah. And that'll become, everything goes through phases of, I think it was like the Dune popcorn bucket. And then all of a sudden you've got these high-end... It's just a way to make money because people are going to collect them. The Wolverine
from
one...
the David Lynch movie, June?
From the Rennie...
like a David Lynch Harkonnen popcorn bucket.
Oh, no, or it'd be one of the ones from the Duke. It'd be a pustule popcorn bucket. Or something like that.
And then you squeeze it and all this globule goes over the popcorn.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, man.
But no,
that was the guy. The guy who played the lead Harkonnen guy that was floating about in the David Lynch one.
Yeah.
Pretty sure that was the guy who played the sheriff or the cop in Salem's Lot. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, well, as I say, he's got one of these faces that, he's kind of bulky and you think, he's not Clifton, he's not J.W. Pepper, and there's a few all mixed together. He's not James Brolin. Who's the other? Who's the guy? What's his name? James. There's two guys that I get confused with. There's the guy who was the Harkonnen from Dune, and there's another guy,
Kenneth McMillan. That's who he was.
There's Kenneth McMillan, and there's another actor, and it's not James Brolin. It was another. Is it Brolin? No. It's nothing to do with the Brolins, but there's another big guy. What's his name? And now I used to get those two confused.
Was he in anything? Movies.
What was he in?
God, the guy who played the vampire, Reggie Nelder, plays Kurt Barlow in Salem's Lot. I mean, he didn't need any makeup. He's pretty crummy looking by himself. Man.
Yeah, well, that's not the same guy from Poltergeist 2, is it?
No, he was in a movie. Was he like a European actor? He was Austrian, okay, but he was in a movie I watched with Ugo Kier.
Yes,
Udo Kier.
Yeah. He just passed away.
Mark of the Devil. You can get this. You can watch it on YouTube or one of the streamings. You got to watch this. This is funny as fuck. Basically, Mark of the Devil. One of these 1970s Udo Kier romps. But Reggie Nelder plays Kurt Barlow in Salem's Lot in 1979. Herbert Lom's in it as well. So it's quite... it's one of these European dubbed movies, but it's quite good to have on and watch.
I'm sure his name is Brolin.
Brolin,
but not the thingy actors. He's not the two famous Brolins. I'm sure he's a short actor. And he usually plays southern kind of sheriff. Any films he was in? You know what? I've gone absolute
blank.
Absolute.
I
blank.
get that. It's called brain fog. I get it all the time.
I'm sure his name's his surname's Brolin, but it's not
Thomas Brolin, Swedish footballer. No, I don't think so. What was he doing on the? No, that's not Internet movie. James Brolin. No, that's his father. Thomas.
Or it sounds like Brolin. But it's not,
James Brolin's married to Barbara Streisand now. Wow.
But no, as I say, there's. I like how in the film that the Rasputin always mentions. He starts to talk about little. So he calls. He's got little Sonia, little Boris, little Tsar, and then little Peter.
Not to stick politics again, but I get the Trump. Effect with Rasputin. He's using the little mannerisms that Trump uses to basically just kind of degenerate, derogate people, and because obviously Sleepy Joe and Little Marco, and he just basically just makes up shit about. But he thinks he's some marketing genius that come up with this stuff, a 5-year-old kid could come up with better dialogue than this. I mean, the guy's a complete moron.
Because the first time he uses the little, he says little father to the guy who's on the cart driver.
Oh, yeah.
And there's something interesting about that, because that voice is not the actor's voice. That voice is Michael Ripper.
Ah, Michael Ripper. Yeah.
Michael Ripper, who I don't know, because he was in the, what do you call it? He was in the Cornish ones. I don't know if Michael Ripper was in The Reptile and Plague of the Zombies, but they redubbed him. I just thought of that actor was in Tootsie.
God, Michael Ripper's been in.
Yes.
In 46. He was also in a couple of episodes of EastEnders, man.
Yeah.
As
you say, he's got such a distinctive face. He's played everybody. He's put brown face on. He's done all that sort of stuff. He's in one of the Hammer Empire Mummy films.
But he has a unique voice. You know, it's Michael Ripper.
Yeah,
you can't disguise his voice.
Yeah, I don't know where he was
for accents.
I don't know where he was. Yeah, he's not really one for accents at all.
But he always plays like either like somebody like in law, like a police officer, or he'll play a landlord or a pub.
You know what?
Publican or something.
I think I saw a film where he had a fairly big part and he was being accused of murder. And his friend,
he was in The Reptile as well, and Plague of Zombies.
That's exactly what's happened. Yeah. They've done that, and they thought, well, no, we use Michael Ripper.
God, he was in Captain Clegg as well.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
Well, he's been in a lot of stuff. Curse of the Werewolf. That's the one with a young Oliver Reed.
Yeah, and I think we talked about this before, that Hammer made only one werewolf movie, but they made about 4 mummy movies. And it's like, what's the deal with it? Unless they think maybe it's a cheaper thing to make a mummy movie, because you just need a prologue to the ancient Egypt, and then you can just get somebody shuffling around. It could be any time, Edwardian, Victorian, sorry, not Victorian. Yeah, kind of Edwardian stage. Yeah.
He was also in Quatermass 2.
Yes, yeah, he was in lots of those ones.
X to Unknown. Yeah, he's he goes back a long way, way back into the 40s. 30s, believe it or not, 36 was his first role. Yeah. Christ, okay. Yeah, he's been about a bit.
Yeah. Can you just check the Tootsie?
Tootsie, yeah, this is killing you, is it?
It's absolutely killing me, and I'm positive the guy is in Tootsie.
Totsie, no, it's not Totsie.
Yeah. Once again, there's so many actors that appear, and you think...
Okay, let's have a look. Dustin Hoffman, Sidney Pollack, Bill Murray was in Tootsie, Jessica Lange, Terry Garr, Gina Davis, Dabney Coleman.
That's Charles Durning. That's it.
Oh, Charles Durning, yeah.
I always used to get Charles Durning and
Charles Durning
and Durning, and then that is it. Keith thingy from the Dune mixed up.
Yeah, he was in Dog Day Afternoon, but Sting, the Final Countdown, not the song, but is that the Martin Sheen one with Kirk Douglas and stuff? And well, to be or not to be.
See, that's you've got lots of actors who appear, and either they're cheaper versions of a more famous one, or they're just coincidence that they've got a similar face.
Charles Durning's been in quite a lot of Burt Reynolds movies here. I can see here.
I don't know whether or not he was from the South, but he had that look of a Southern.
Yeah, he's got this kind of racist plantation type authority.
But then he's from New York, and it's like
Highland Falls, New York. Yeah. Probably New York State. So where's that? Let's have a look on the map. Okay, so this is Manhattan here, and he's just a way up here, sort of thing. No? So probably kind of near Poughkeepsie, sort of thing. So it's just up from New York City, too far.
But judging by all accounts, it didn't do that well, box office wise, Rasputin. Now, the interesting thing, I did my a wee bit of research, and I assumed, well, if the film came out in 66, oh right, I wonder if they were jumping on the bandwagon of Dr. Zhivago, because I thought Russian, and the way it looks, I thought, oh Christ, this looks good. And then because there's some films that are synonymous with a certain year, and it's only till you dig into them that you realise, oh no, it's like Star Wars 1977, but it didn't come into the UK to 78. Similar thing with Jaws synonymous with 1975, didn't get here to January 76. So Dr. Zhivago in 1965, and then you look at it, no, it opened in America in December 65. It didn't come open in the UK till April 66, a month after Rasputin. So Rasputin, it wasn't made because let's jump on the bandwagon of the Russian. So that happened came out before, and for some reason we went to the cinema with a double feature, and yeah, it didn't do. Even though, as I say, it's got fantastic cinematography, the music, the titles, it just has that not quite that kind of, the Russian text, but because it's got this red velvet curtain, and it's got this gold kind of sash, and it, yeah.
I've got the thing about the music is when the film started on the Blu-ray edition, it sounded really thin.
Yes.
Like it was recorded through a transistor radio, and I went, "What the fuck?" I mean, I've got my Dolby Atmos amplifier here. This sounds absolute shit. But when the credits kind of finished, the film sounded okay, and then when the film ended, it went back to that really thin, crappy mono type sound. That's kind of weird. I never experienced that before. It just kind of was a bit jarring.
Well, that's the thing. I think I assumed, I thought it wasn't because James Bernard did a lot of the scores for, but James Bernard didn't do this score for Rasputin, because the famous thing about James Bernard is he put the title of the film in the score. So Dracula, Prince of Darkness goes so you can almost see as it goes Dracula, Prince of Darkness. So if James Bernard, well, which is a bit of a cheat, but also at least it gets you over a hump.
Rasputin.
No, well, he didn't. He didn't do Rasputin's music. But if James Bernard was doing the Post Boys, he'd go. It'd be the Post Boys. So the theme would be, which you can go back and listen to a lot of his Hammer themes, and you can hear the Plague of the Zombies and stuff like that. Which at least it's a starting point to think. I can't think of a theme. Oh, you know what I'll do? The title is the Plague of the Zombies. I'll just go the Plague of the Zombie, or
So he's just making up the theme around the words.
Yes. Yeah, well, yeah. Which I think maybe subconsciously, sometimes it works. Sometimes it's like that doesn't sound right. But at least it's trying something new, or at least it gets you thinking out of the box a little bit, I suppose.
So going back to your Charles Durning,
yes,
he died in 25th of December 2012. He was 89 years old, so he had a pretty good life, I would say.
Yeah, there was a film. I think his last film was I hear a tiny part in his last film, and I remember seeing it. I can't remember what it was. I think it was a wee indie film. His last one,
Difficult. I noticed that Burt Reynolds and Charles Durning were in a lot of movies together, and here's the first thing on Google. Were Burt Reynolds and Charles Durning's friends? Well, let's have a look. Yes, they were. That's why they were close long-term friends. So there you go.
Of course, right. Oh, wait a minute. Was he not in that film, the TV program? Was it not After Midnight? What was that? He did a TV show. Burt Reynolds did a TV show. Was it not Sunset, or it was? something like that. I used to get that confused with Coach, where that had Craig T. Nelson in it, you know.
Mm.
And I think that maybe that's what I'm thinking of. Charles Durning was in that TV sitcom with
Burt Reynolds TV sitcom.
yeah, which was called, was it Midnight or no, not Sunset or something?
Evening Shade.
That's Evening Shade. That's it.
1990.
1990. Yeah.
He had some work done. I think he got the work done just before he did City Heat with Clint Eastwood, and it was quite noticeable. Burt Reynolds.
Or was it after?
No, it was on City Heat.
Was it because I know he had that the story about the
he kind of, his face kind of looked a bit plasticky.
jaw. Well, yeah, there's that thing about you got there was supposed to be a chair that was supposed to be a stunt chair to break away, and it didn't break away, and it kind of broke his kind of jaw, and that's when he
maybe
what do you call it? I don't know if he started to take painkillers for the pain or stuff like that.
Yeah, he got addicted to painkillers. Yeah,
I think it is amazing that there's some. I don't know whether sometimes it's down to the projects people pick or just the timings that there's some people on paper you think, oh, what, Burt Reynolds and Clint Eastwood made a film, and sometimes it just doesn't gel, and sometimes and other times you see, like say that I think I talked about this before. There's a image of Clint Eastwood and Paul Newman together, and they seem to have a great chemistry. They never made the film together, but I think they were on the same film lot, filming stuff. And you think, yeah, that seems like a pairing. And there's other pairings that that's a good pairing. Other ones, it's like I didn't even realise they made a film. It's like John Wayne and Kirk Douglas. They made a couple of films together, but I don't know whether or not they really gelled as a screen duo.
You had some work done around the eyes and stuff. Yeah. God, look at him there. Jesus Christ.
Well, he was going to be in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. He was going to play Thingy, the guy who owns the ranch. And he
the Spawn Ranch.
Yeah, and he passed away, so it was Bruce Dern who played that character. Yeah. And of course, people know it's become famous about turning down loads of stuff. He turned down From Here to Eternity. No, it's not Here to Eternity. Terms of Endearment.
Oh.
And which Jack Nicholson won the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor. Now, whether that would have, if Burt Reynolds was in it, whether he would have won that, it's like that thing about choosing roles. Do you choose roles because you want to, or you turn down one role? So, I'm going to be in that film because it's almost like a makeup role because you turn down. Yeah, you just don't know.
I don't know why people. I don't know, just vanity, but you see the mess people's faces get fucked up with. Look at him there. He was okay there, and then.
Well, I suppose it's an age thing, and that's the thing. You see a lot of people, and you think, well, these people are self-deprecating, but everybody's got a blind spot to something, physically, and there's always something. Yeah, that's the thing. You just can't tell, and particularly when it's quite obvious. It's a syrup, it's a hairpiece, or it's something like that.
Remember, like Meg Ryan got those lips injections done.
Yes.
She had unique lips anyway, and then suddenly she looked like a bloody fish or something. This was like, it was massive.
That's the thing. Things totally change whether it's overuse or it's because there's an allergic reaction. I mean, one of the most famous who's had that kind of allergic reaction is Leslie Ash.
Yeah, I remember that. Did it kind of died down after a while?
It died down, but there was a reaction, and I don't know, an infection and stuff like that. And these things,
And who else was? Renee Zellweger had work done as well. And see, I couldn't even recognise it was Renee Zellweger. No,
Remember Mickey Rourke that.
Oh.
But then
Mickey Rourke, Mickey. I mean, he was on top of the world. I mean, this guy was going head to head with fucking De Niro. He was the man. He was the coolest guy. He was like banging Kim Basinger in 9.5 weeks. He was Michael Cimino, Year of the Dragon. Yeah. He was Angel Heart with Alan Parker. Well, I mean, he was on top of the world, and he bloody ruined his career.
Well, he turned down Highlander. He turned down a few things. That Year of the Dragon. I think Year of the Dragon is, if you haven't seen it, I think it's the best Tarantino film Tarantino never made, because you watch that, it's a dark film, the script, but also the scenes. It's like that's just a Tarantino film.
Tarantino loves that movie, and I've always loved that movie. I got that imprint, the export. Had to order it on eBay because it was it's kind of obviously imported. It's not, you can't really get it here, but that was, I mean, I was waiting years for like a decent Blu-ray copy of Year of the Dragon, because for some reason it just seemed like it was a film that was just lost, because you get all these movies that you grew up with in the 80s and suddenly they just disappear and vanish from history almost, and you kind of say, whatever happened to that movie, sort of, I know.
Yeah, you know what, there's another one, because there's a lot of these films that come out and disappear. There's and it's only if you've got an old, say, like a 20th Century Fox video cassette, you open it up and you'll see the video images of all the ones you can. Well, one that's kind of disappeared, I haven't seen for years, is, people talk about the 1980s in Vietnam films, is the film Saigon with William Dafoe and...
he was in William Dafoe, and...
It's like a detective kind of movie.
Who was that? There was two characters.
Yeah, it was... or was it a black actor?
Danny Glover?
Yeah, it might have been.
Let me have a look.
But all I remember is the poster, which was on one of the...
It was CBS Fox, was it?
Yeah, CBS Fox. And when you got the video, when you opened the video... No,
Gregory Hines.
Gregory Hines, that's it.
Yeah, he died too young, Gregory. Yeah.
As I say, that's a film that seems to disappear. You know, you had all these Vietnam films.
Now, here's something, going way off topic. It was... basically, Saigon, or as it was known in America, is Off Limits.
But you probably can't have Off Limits because the TV series Off Limits, wasn't it? Or no, or was that No Limits? There was a film. There was a TV program with Jenny. Oh, what was her name? Jenny. She was a presenter.
Jenny Powell.
Jenny Powell.
Oh.
Was that called Off Limits or No Limits or something like that?
I think it was No Limits.
Was it No? All right. Well, so
yeah, that was the. It was like produced by Jonathan King. Was it Jonathan King?
But it was something. It was like a magazine program before. You know,
it was the first thing I seen. I was watching it, and they showed this movie, and it was John Carpenter's Big Trouble in Little China.
Yeah.
And I just seen them promoting it, so I went, this is going to come out at the cinema soon, and I went, I'm definitely going to see that movie. This is my movie, so I know, and I loved it. And obviously, it never made the splash we all hoped it did, but it still goes on. I mean, look at it now. I mean, people are young millennials are on YouTube watching it and realizing it is a great movie. So
yeah.
But I'm going to check this guy out. It's written by Jack Thibault. Now, this guy here, he was in a lot of Clint Eastwood stuff. Escape from Alcatraz, Any Which Way You Can, Southern Impact, City Heat. He was also he plays McCafferty in Lethal Weapon.
Does he?
Rick McCaskey. You remember when he's in Lethal Weapon? When you'll see him if you watched it. So I know he's the guy when they shoot Mel Gibson's character and he's got a vest on.
Yes.
But Mr. Joseph thinks he's killed him and he goes flying through in the glass window of the shop. And then Mr. Joseph phones up the police department. This is Joshua from KAB News. We heard there was a shooting downtown, and he was like, "Yeah, Sergeant Martin Riggs was shot and killed. Wait a minute, who is this? Okay, bye. Yeah, he's dead, kind of thing. It was just kind of that was him. That's Jack Tebow, but he was in a lot of these Clint Eastwood movies. But guess where he was born?
France?
No, he was born in Scotland. He's got an American actor, but he was born in Scotland before he was born in Scotland, and he was brought up a little bit in Scotland, and he moved to America. But he's Scottish. But you'll see if you watch it. He was, in Escape from Alcatraz. There was 3 of them.
Yes.
And he's one of the brothers with Clint Eastwood.
He was in Apocalypse Now.
Yeah. Action Jackson, Lethal Weapon, Miami Vice, The Hitcher in 1986. Yeah. I just knew I recognised that name. That's why I wanted to have a look. So, sorry, I'm just going way off on a tangent.
No, it's just the films that you see, and either because the posters, terrible, or the titles, they've changed the title or stuff like that, and that just...
You know what really pisses me off about movies today is there's no any creative work that goes into the posters or the cover art or anything, because they don't need it anymore.
No, yeah, exactly.
And I love the cover art for stuff in the 80s. And
well, I think, as I say, it's been a downward spiral. I think as soon as what was it? Was it Meet the Parents? When all of a sudden the idea of the photoshopped head, you see that, and the neck is elongated. I think that doesn't look right. That's what's I mean, I always like the. I think one of the last great ones for me was the poster. Was it Swordfish? And it's like, that's actually, everybody's there.
Right.
And, very rarely do you get a photograph of everybody that hasn't been manipulated. And
so that was just a black and white picture.
Yeah. I think, as much as I know, I think that's all real, and it's like, but I do prefer the painting.
Yeah.
It's not Bob Peak. There was, is it Bob Peak? He was one of the...
Bob Peak.
Is it Bob Peak was the illustrator?
American. Symbolic.
Yeah, you'll know his stuff, and he was, once again, a lot of these illustrators were commissioned to do say like License Revoked, but which changed to License to Kill. But they did
Excalibur and Apocalypse Now, Spy Love Me.
Yeah,
Have you any which way you can, every which way but loose?
He's fantastic. Yeah, and as I say, it's probably down because the marketing or stuff like that to say we can't make a I mean, if you think about, because even Thingies can be guilty of that. What do you call it? Christopher Nolan. Because I don't think Christopher Nolan. I can't think of any great posters. And this is a guy who's a great cinephile. I can't think.
Richard Amsel is another one. He does like. I always liked the art for Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome.
Yes.
I always thought that would look great. So I know Richard Amsel is the guy.
And you do nowadays, whether it's there isn't the money to put in it, or it's like, no, we don't want to. We want to be able to change it for different territories.
I just like that style. That kind of it's like it's almost like an airbrush photograph sort of.
Yeah.
But there was an art to it.
Yeah, and I always liked. It's like nowadays CGI can give you sometimes the epic feel that only a poster could. If you look at like Clash of the Titans, or there's some films, or Soylent Green, and you see like there's thousands and thousands of extras, and it's like now we've got the computer generated to give you that feel, but before you could only get, and obviously nothing worse than seeing a poster. Oh my God, that's the thousands of extras. You go and see the film, and the poster's a kind of a representation of what's in the film, and it's like, oh, it isn't as dramatic as if you get the same dramatic dynamism of the poster in the film, great. And other times it's like, oh no, the poster feels more epic than the film does.
Well, that was kind of the thing with the video case cover art. Yeah. I mean, the films looked better than they actually were most of the time, and usually the cover art for the crappier movies had some of the best kind of most inventive cover art, because they were just basically lying to your face. Basically,
they were lying.
But that was the selling point.
Yeah.
Was it? Oh.
Well, that's the thing, and that's why people had those posters, and it's like, oh no, that poster is much better than.
I mean, talking about posters, when I was growing up, I go into Woolworths or HMV or Virgin. There was always a big section where you could go and get posters. And there would be like a number on it, and you'll flick through them, and you'll have like B2. So you'll go down and you'll look for a B2 and then pull the roll out.
And you'll remember this, Gary. I'm sure there was a big poster shop in the Wellgate, and there was ones you get the usual size posters, and then you got the huge posters. And I think I had I'd never seen the film, but I think I had about 3 different of Beatrice Dalle of Betty Blue, and they were the size of a wall. You know, because and nowadays you can't get any posters bigger than. Just the normal
Probably
poster
like
size.
This size,
yeah.
Okay.
But this was it'd be almost floor to ceiling. That's how big.
Wow.
And in these shops, you could open them up, and it was like, wow, this is unbelievable.
Yeah, nobody. I mean, that was a thing in those days. People would buy posters of their favorite movies, but you don't see people buy posters of their favorite movies nowadays because there's not really that much anything to poster it.
Yeah, and a wee bit like that was. In the Seagate in Dundee, you had the cinema, you had the 2 cinemas, and then you had the posters, and then you had the small window near the concession stand, and if there was any tie-in toys, usually they put the tie-in toys in that little vestibule window, and I remember seeing some
product placement going on there.
And that's when I saw a couple of Clash of the Titan toys, but they didn't have the full Kraken, but they just had the little toys in the cardboard put in that, and obviously that must have came with the product tie-in.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I had this poster on my wall when I was a kid, so I know this giant poster.
Invasion USA.
Yeah.
Chuck Norris.
What else? I had you remember this movie called the Kindred or the Kindred from 1986? Was it The Kindred? It had Rod Steiger in it. Let me just.
What was it? Was it like a Exorcism ripoff or? No,
it's about kind of basically genetic experiment to create some monster, and it was a pretty low budget movie, but I had a great poster. There it is there. I had this on my wall. Look at that fucking poster. Oh man, Kindred.
Oh, the Kindred. You know what? I think I remember
Some
seeing
things
that
are left unborn.
I remember it's those images that you can't remember what they were called, but you remember either the poster in the video shop or in the cinema.
You seen that green cover?
Yeah.
It was on the EV Entertainment and Video label. Remember that EV?
Yeah.
They did a lot of kind of stuff like Charles Band stuff, the Ghoulies and
the Ghoulies.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. You would.
But the Fright Night, that's a great poster, isn't it? I love Fright Night.
Well, as I say, to tie in with it, the horror thing, they originally wanted.
God,
I'm sure they wanted Peter Cushing for that. For the role of Peter Vincent,
yeah.
But and also that there's a story about, as I say, the sequel Fright Night 2, and it's like, you know, sometimes films get tied up in legal bits and pieces, or people who own the rights or not own the rights, or they didn't realise it was going to be a success, and then they say, well, wait a minute, we want a slice of this, and because I remember that there was a big piece in the newspaper about Fright Night because I think it was an 18. I think it is still an 18.
It was I think it's came down to 15 now, but it was an 18 in the 80s. I remember.
But I like that his friend was evil because he's got such a voice.
Evil Ed.
Yeah, when
Stephen Jeffries.
Stephen Jeffries, and he says, "Oh, the master will kill you so slowly," and he's got that kind of catch in his voice, and it's like, yeah.
I had this massive poster. For Slam Dance. It was a movie with it was kind of I had no idea who this was, but it's a Virginia Madsen, so I know.
Yes,
but Slam Dance. Get on my way. Why do these fucking pop-ups pop up in my way here?
Slam Dance.
Yeah,
you know what I say that
Tom House. It was a few years after he did Amadeus. Whatever happened to his career?
Well, the thingy would be say, well, wait a minute, it was thingy made the role famous on Broadway. It was Mark Hamill who made it famous on Broadway, Amadeus.
Yeah.
But no, that slam but dance, there's a touch of the old soul bass kind of, line and about that poster.
If you want that original poster, it's going to cost you $24 plus whatever.
And when did the film Slam Dance come out?
Probably like, I'm pretty sure it was about 85, 86, was it? And 87.
87. Well, that poster looks like something from the 90s. That's a classy, you'd think that almost looks like what
best. Okay, we're maybe talking about. Apologise for the people that have come in to listen about. I've got Rasputin the Mad Monk, but we've gone way off topic here, as we normally do. I had this poster. Now, I'd never seen this movie for years, but I had the poster. Look at this poster. Strip to Kill.
Yeah. I'm positive I've seen those eyes before in that poster, unless they've just reused it. Unless I'm thinking of what was the French film? Diabolique. No, not Diabolique. The cartoon character. It was like the French
Tintin.
No, there was them. Philip Law was in that film.
Can't remember.
He's playing a spy. John Philip Law. Is it John Philip Law? And he's that's what that looks like. Yeah, Strip to Kill.
I had so many of these, and obviously one of the best posters was the original Evil Dead poster from Palace, which was had the where was it? Come on, that's not it. That's not what I want. Evil Dead poster, Palace.
Yes, yeah, because I think that artist is still alive, isn't it?
Oh, it's there. It is there. Okay. This is the poster I had. There was most ferociously. Let me start again. The most ferociously original horror film of the year, Stephen King. Yeah, that was kind of the quote that sold it, was it? So I know I had this on my wall as well. My wall was just chock a block with posters.
Well, that's the thing about the horror and the changing tastes, and that Hammer, when they came on, they'd been going for a fair bit, but they struck gold in '57 with the Curse of Frankenstein, and nobody had made a full colour gothic horror, and then they thought, wow, right, this is the way to go. And then times change, and it's like, well, what do you do? Do you just keep what you're doing, which now doesn't seem horrific at all, or do you try to cash in, or do you start to do as they tried to do with the softcore vampire trilogy, the Vampire Lovers and the Twins of Evil with the Maltese twins, and it's like, well, and that's what those ones have dated probably worse, because
the Vampire Lovers,
and the Tower of Evil as well,
the Tower of Evil, that was
and the Twins of Evil,
was it the Carstein trilogy or something
that's
like
the thing, and then you come across, sometimes they strike gold by accident. I think the Vampire Circus is a great idea, but it's like the film, it's got this prologue, and it's like what they should have had was like Wurlitzer circus music and
the organ grinder.
Yeah, they should have just had the organ grind. They don't have the prologue. Just go straight in, and this is a circus full of vampires in a plague.
You could have had that with little bits of flashback or something,
But and then obviously it's they kind of try to, and then it tried to jump in the like the Exorcist trend with to the devil a daughter, and then it went away, and then it came back with, I think Let Me In is actually quite a good the music, the soundtrack to Let Me In is good, and there was that other film with Gerard Harris. Was it the other? No, not the others.
Richard Harris's son.
Yes, son, and also there was a Hammer horror with Christopher Lee in it. It was called, was it The Resident with Hilary? Was it Hilary Swank? Wasn't it?
I seen that. I can't remember much about it, but I remember seeing that. Yeah.
And now it looks like I don't know whether they're into producing movies, but they seem to be producing, because a lot of DVDs are coming out that they've kind of, like the Cry of the Banshee, it's been released, Hammer Presents. So they're, I don't know if they're cleaning up certain other films that aren't theirs. Was it The Snake Woman, which I don't think was a Hammer film. They're, producing stuff like that. But no, I think that's, yeah, I remember seeing it at the time, and I think that's one of my favourites. But it's something to look at. When I think of Hammer horror, I think of that warm, gothic feel. And when you probably look into it, there's maybe only a handful like that, and the rest are, don't look as good. Don't. Yeah, I think Prince of Darkness, Rasputin, and funnily enough, made by this back to back, made roughly by the same people. I think, as I say, from 64 to maybe 68, I think that's, for me, is the kind of the peak Hammer, I think. And I don't think I've ever really been scared by a Hammer, apart from two occasions. One was the Hammer House of Horror, the TV series. The first series is much better than the second one, the Hammer House of Mystery and Suspense, because the first one was made on 35mm camera film. The one, it looks as if it's been shot on 16. It's not. The second series.
Was that the series that was on like ITN or something? Was it? Or was it?
Yes,
The house that dripped blood or something, or the house.
Oh no,
it was the one. Something.
Oh,
there was an episode.
There's one where the house is it's blood in the pipes.
Yeah, that scared the shit out of me when I was a kid.
And the one that got me was I think it's got Diana Dors, and it's the Children of the Moon. And there's a father comes in, and he's like a werewolf, but it's because he's got these white eyes and this black fur, and it really, just these eyes are popping in this wolf kind of mask. That really scared me. And then I think only in the film version of the only other time was The Devil Rides Out, and it's not necessarily the goat demon. It's when they're in the house.
Baphomet,
and I think it's that, I don't know if he's an Afro-Caribbean actor, and he must have that stigmatism that makes his eyes bulge, and you've got these two ones together, his eyes bulging and that grin, and particularly when Christopher Lee says, don't look at his eyes, and then it cuts to a close-up, and that's the only other time I thought, I'm really scared. I don't even know what that is. I think those two, and other times it's like, it's a Hammer horror, it's not going to be, it's like, almost like, it's like putting on a well-worn pair of slippers or stuff like that. You know what you're going to get. It's going to be set in the past. It's going to be some good acting, or some dodgy acting. But usually it's going to be, well made. It's going to, look great. That's why I like the Hammer or those ones in the kind of 60s. Although I must admit, I don't know what your favourite Hammer villain is. Mine is, and this character's from a Hammer film, and I think this person is worse than Dracula, and it is Betty Davis
in The Nanny.
No, The Anniversary.
Oh, The Anniversary. I knew you were going to go either one of them. So.
Yes, yeah. I think she is the. I think that she's the worst.
Two really great movies. Anniversary and The Nanny.
Yes, and
Betty Davis.
Horrible. And The Anniversary is about like a matriarch who has this control of the family, and you think that all her children, she kind of has her claws in all her children and her daughters-in-laws, and you think that at the end of the film everybody's going to go their way, and then you realise no, she's still got all control, and it's horrible. I think it was it Sangster? Is it Jimmy
Sangster? Yeah.
I actually thought it was based on a play, but I don't think so. I think it's the original story. And she's got that eye patch that looks like a kind of teardrop.
I guess that's Jimmy Sangster.
Yeah, Jimmy Sangster.
Similarly, when Jimmy Sangster was married at the time, and he was putting up Bette Davis. Basically, he was the one that was meant to take care of her and chauffeur her around and stuff, and similarly she came on to him basically. And he basically goes and says, the next time she comes over, I'm going on holiday with my wife. So I know.
well, the thing is, I think there's a lovely. I'm sure there's a publicity still of. I think when they were filming The Anniversary, I think it tipped over into July the 4th, and there's an image of Betty Davis in a kind of not an Uncle Sam, but like an Auntie Sam. She's got a hat and like a thingy, dressed like the American flag. But no, that film, as I say, is contemporary. It's got Sheila Hancock in it. It's got a lot of famous, and that is a horrible, because the family think they've gotten away from her, and she's not. She's a horrible matriarch, and horrible.
So I'm kind of more. I can remember more about the nanny, but I just remember for like 3/4 of the movie, I just wanted to like basically just shut that fucking kid up. Basically, the kid was annoying me as hell.
You know what?
But then
I like the kid when he sees the kind of boyfriend or the paper boy and he says, "Hey, look at that dirty git. He's trying to see up your skirt," and all this. It's like, I don't know if it's his sister, Pamela. Is it Pamela Franklin? I think
Pamela Franklin she's upstairs and he just goes in and basically just creeps on her basically, and but she's like some kind of a little bit older, kind of badass, smoking cigarettes, stealing cigarettes from her father, who's a doctor, I believe. And
yes,
but
because Wendy Craig, Wendy Craig, and then
she was a bit off her head in that. Basically.
Yeah. But yeah. Obviously, it's an influence. Well, like kind of black and white, whether it's a cost thing or to think, well, Psycho was
because basically they did a whole load of these movies, like The Taste of Fear.
Yes, yeah.
They did a lot. They were trying to capture that kind of that Hitchcock Clouseau kind of psychological stuff, and they wanted to differentiate it from the gothic horror.
Ah, right. So
they did a lot of these movies in black and white, sort of, I know, and it kind of looks okay, sort of, I know. Yeah. I mean, they're well shot, look pretty good.
Yeah.
Going back to Rasputin, just to lower the tone, like I do. Obviously, when Christopher Lee did his homework, he basically he was quite fond of telling people how big Rasputin was for his lovemaking and stuff.
Yeah.
And he always brought up the quote from his first Rasputin's first wife, not Christopher Lee, but but Rasputin's first wife was there was plenty to go around for all women in Russia at the time, basically. So that's what. So basically, his legend basically goes on and on and on. So basically, he was a healer. He was a manipulator. He was probably a world-class drinker.
A lover.
He was a hypnotist. And he was also endowed quite reasonably as well in the lovemaking department.
Yeah.
So
and
this guy had it all.
Yeah. And as I say, the film...
And he also had the Empire of Russia in the palm of his hand for a spell as well. Crazy.
Well, that's the thing. And as I say,
that probably pushed people to revolt and stuff.
Well, he was, as I say, seen as a peasant. I think.
Yeah, because it was 1917. Peasant? There was an earlier rising, but there was 1917 was the main rising, was it? And that's when and just before that, Rasputin got knocked off. And
as I say, if you know anything about your history, as I say, the Tsar. I always thought the Tsar Nicholas II was a tall guy. When you see the photographs, he was a small guy, and he held on to power. He wouldn't, and as I say, as the film says, Nicholas and Alexander said, you know what, you could have avoided this if you just acted sooner. But he held on to the power. The disaster with the Russian army in the First World War.
They're all related. The royal family in Britain, Russia, and Germany.
I think there's the BBC drama called is it the Four Eagles, and it's looking at, like, as I say, the Kaiser and the Tsar and all this stuff. But also, if you your history, Gary, that the British royal family turned down the offer to take the Tsar in, because they. So the Tsar thought, right, I'll speak to my cousin. We'll go to London, and King, who was it? King George No, it wouldn't be King George the Fifth. It would be the Fifth, or was it King George the?
Edward was after that, was it? So it'd be George the Fifth, I think.
Yeah, George the Fifth, and he turned them down to say, no, because either there'll be a revolution here if that happens and stuff like that. So no, so but once again, you don't know whether or not the Russians would have let him leave Russia. But if they say, yeah, you've got safe passage to London, come to London, and yeah,
load it up over here.
yeah.
That's Rasputin, the Mad Monk. You got any other thoughts on Rasputin? Anything we've missed out?
Anything? No, as I say, it looks fantastic. I think it's what was it? It's 90 minutes. It doesn't drag. Like I say, for the first hour, it's more or less like a kind of historical drama. There's some good fades and stuff like that. But as I say, the cinematography's there, and then after the hour mark, that's where you get more of the horrific. But it fairly ends abruptly. So it
does end abruptly, because if you're going in thinking we're going to get the grand finale from what we've read about Rasputin, you're going to be a bit disappointed by the ending, because it just kind of like it says, it kind of cuts out a couple steps in the process of his death.
Yes. So I'd say it's a historical kind of drama, but it's got horrific elements in it, but it's like quick, slow, quick. Yeah, that kind of. Yeah.
And Christopher Lee's performance in it is unlike probably anything he's done before that. He's not as Christopher Lee stoic kind of monotone.
Yeah, he's fluffing his beard, and the way he has his hands cricked in all these weird positions and all this sort of stuff.
Seemingly, there's a scene where he's eating when he gets. The guard goes to ask him to come to
he's got
the court, and it was his idea to stick loads of bits of food and stuff in his beard and stuff to make it look really messy. So that was he's just like a messy, greasy, disgusting. Yeah. But he's the greatest love machine, isn't he?
But he's the greatest love machine, and you feel like saying that if there was an overspend on Dracula, it's like, well, can we maybe cut the dancing? But no, there's more dancing in that.
He did his own dancing, Christopher Lee. That Russian dancing seemingly was him.
Well, you can see when it's the double, because the beard is slightly shorter. But there's a bit where he's like that, and you can see whether maybe he's sitting on a stool.
Well, maybe he's taking credit for something he didn't do. Yeah. It was quite a energetic performance, basically. Yeah, unlike his normal performances.
I don't think it's a film that stands up to too many viewings. I think maybe one or maybe two is enough, because I hadn't watched it in a long time. Watched it and I thought, I don't think that's the same film I remember, because you're blown away by, as I say, the production values. But maybe I thought because they were jumping on the Dr. Zhivago, so they've upped the production and the cinematography, and then realised no, it wasn't.
Yeah, and what was I going to say? Can't remember. Kind of completely slipped my brain. I had something to say, but So I remember. So basically, there's so much drinking contest going on in this movie.
Yes,
I actually felt drunk watching the movie.
Yes, because you don't know whether is that bottles of wine or because they seem to be drinking wine.
I felt sick and nauseous because I was like, I can't drink 8 or 9 bottles of wine in one go.
See, it's interesting whether that was historical, whether that we were drinking wine rather than bottles and bottles and like shots. Unless that's maybe the shots has become more of a modern cinematic trope rather than actually you're drinking whole bottles of wine. Yeah,
and the scene in that cafe, or what was the drinking place?
Cafe is not Ziga, is it? Was it Cafe? I think it's called. Is it Zagan?
Zagan, yeah.
Cafe Zagan.
When Barbara Shelley and her entourage goes there, it's when she downs. She gets told, so she was going to have she downed the early on in the movie. She downs the champagne. And obviously his brother was like, "Whoa, settle down," kind of thing. No, and then she does the same with the vodka.
Yes,
but then she realised it was so much stronger then she has like a hiccup or something.
Which is something from another film, that kind of comedic.
Yeah, and then everybody starts. Was that the bit where everybody starts laughing or something?
Everybody starts laughing. Yeah, because the cafe owner says no, the cafe Zagan vodka is quite strong. He said no,
yeah,
give me some of that. And then so obviously everybody's laughing at that, and then that trails off, and then Rasputin says, apologise to me because you're laughing. He said, well, they're not laughing at you, because he's won the drinking competition and he does all that dancing and he does a bit of moonwalking and all that sort of stuff. And then,
Michael Jackson moonwalking.
Well, the thing is, there's that bit when he's kind of walking backwards.
If Mel Brooks was doing this movie, I know we'll get some of that going on.
Well, that's into it, because as you say, you look at that round roughly that same time period. You got Rasputin, and then Dr. Zhivago, Rasputin, and then you've got kind of Nicholas and Alexandria in 1971, and all kind of that which you can almost lump all together. So if you're watching those three films together, that would be a triple bill. Two very long films and one shorter film. Because that Nicholas and Alexandria, that's a long one as well.
Yeah,
which was directed by Planet of the Apes and Patton Franklin J. No, not Franklin J. Because there was loads of people they wanted Max von Sydow for that Rasputin. And he won so he directed Nicholas and Alexandria. And that's one of the reasons why they've got so many...
Franklin J. Schaffner.
Yeah, and that's the reason they got so many actors from the the National Theatre. So that's why you've got Sir Michael Redgrave, you've got Laurence Olivier, you've got Tom Baker, who was in a play, and he was a suggestion to the director that he might be good to play Rasputin, because they wanted to put in, as I say, Max von Sydow, and he said,
Tom Baker would just fit as a Rasputin, would he? So,
he's brilliant. I think he's the closest. That in actual fact, he got nominated for Best Rising Star Golden Globe for that Nicholas and Alexandria. That's when they used to do Rising Stars. So George Lazenby got a Golden Globe nomination, Best Rising Star in 1970 for On Her Majesty's Secret Service. All these things which I think they stopped that in about 1980. Well, you were talking about films I've seen recently that. There was another Hammer. It was The Stranglers of Bombay, which is a black film about the thuggies, and there's a couple of scenes there about the people who the thuggies have got these cloths. They strangle people, and they lose one of the cloths, and the punishment is to have their tongue and their eyes poked out, and they're kept in cages. And this is black and white, and you should see the acting, and they're in this trying to eat this kind of like porridge with no eyes and a tongue. And it's absolutely horrific.
Wow.
It's Guy Rolfe who plays the leader, and he's got a mongoose, and I think we spoke about that, where the mongoose escapes and tries to save him. And it was black and white because they wanted it to feel more contemporary, but the director said no. I think it was Terence Fisher directed it, and I think they wanted it to be in colour. But the producers said, no, have it in black and white, because it's like, this is a true story. And it's like, I think maybe that hurt it. But no, even to this day, there's old films that you watch and you think, they can't be anything horrific. But little things, bits of acting, bits of scenery, bit of thing, just because something's old doesn't necessarily mean it's boring or.
Okay, so I think we're going to wrap up. So that was Rasputin, the Mad Monk
from March 1966.
Yeah.
X.
You can get it on. I'm pretty sure there's a pretty decent stream of it on YouTube if you want to have a gander.
Yes, as I say, it looks great, and where it's. There's nothing too horrific, although the Barbara Shelley's performance in the kind of lab, that's brilliant. That's hard to watch, but only because it's like an emotional, really emotional performance.
Okay, well, thank you for coming around, Ian. Discussing,
no problem, Gary.
And obviously, discussing other things as well. But hopefully we'll get back and talk about another movie next month. Okay.
Bye.
Bye.